Hi there and good morning. It's Marina Newington here, and I help entrepreneurial women do more in less time. And I want to talk to you today about books and summer and reading lists. I don't know about you, but for me, reading is just one of the biggest pleasures in life. I love reading. I love books. They are something that has always resonated with me. I remember, in fact, when I was young, I used to do this thing. I would lie on my bed, when I was about a teenager or so, and I would lie on the door to my bedroom was over here. I'd lie on my bed like this with my homework in front of me, my school books. And then on the floor here would be the book I was actually reading. So I was always reading on the sly whenever I could. And I remember my mother's biggest threat to me was, if you don't do your work when you come home, all your books will be burned. And, in the old days, I used to, pack half my suitcase with books, before the glory of Kindle. And here's a funny thing. A lot of people, I think, are still resistant to the idea of electronic reading because they say, oh, I just like a book. I like, the whole feel of it. But I have to tell you, from someone who read these huge tomes, like 1,000-pagers, and lying on a sunbed holding this book up, as opposed to my nice little Oasis Kindle that's waterproof. Oh my God, it's a world of difference. And I have to say, I am completely converted. Not to mention that I can have thousands of books on my Kindle and I can flip between them, and it makes life so much easier. But unfortunately, Amazon isn't paying me for my wonderful endorsement. It is just the truth. I am completely converted to my Kindle, the Paperwhite, so you can read it outside, and I don't know what I would do without it, to be quite honest. But here's the thing. So I love reading. I have this history of reading. It is such a joy, but I get really sucked into books. You know the way our kids get sucked into these video games? That happens to me with books. So I often don't give myself permission to read unless I'm on holiday, not reading fun things anyway. So I am actually going on holiday on Monday. Yay, it's happening. I'm so excited. I'm going to my house in France, and hopefully you're going to see my lives with some beautiful blue Mediterranean water behind me in the next few weeks. But I get to read because I make a point of being able to read fun books, because for me, the ultimate luxury in life is to lie in the sun, feeling hot to my bones, slightly sweaty, reading a book that I'm totally immersed in, not being responsible for cooking the next meal. Oh, bliss, bliss. That's my bliss. I don't know about you and what your bliss is, but for me, that's definitely my bliss. So with that in mind, I wanted to give you a few suggestions for books to read this summer. And there's a mix here between business books and fun books. Now, what I've been doing actually, and I have found this so great. I was really resistant to this as well. So really resistant to lots of stuff, late adapter, but here you go. I have really taken off with consuming these books in an audio version. So I always read books, always. But I have found that doing my walks, I do my daily walks, try to get my steps. I am, by the way, 400 away from 10,000 for the day already. That's pretty good, I think. I've been listening to these books on an audio version on my Beats. So I've been doing the audio books. And I found also that if I sunbathe with my Beats on, that's really quite nice too, rather than reading the book. But Kindle also has this thing that you can toggle between reading and listening depending on what you're doing. So, and it takes you to the same place in the book. So with that said, I'm first going to start with business books. Okay, so the first thing I have my little list here to remind me what I want to tell you. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Okay, this book was amazing. All right, if you have any sort of brand, and we all have a brand, it's all about how to communicate with your customers in order to make your brand compelling and interesting and get them excited about it. I can't do justice to this book. He has done such an amazing job of breaking it down and explaining how your communication should be like a Hollywood movie. And there's a reason that we watch these movies. There are 7 basic elements. And there's a reason we watch these movies and we get so engaged. And it's the same way that we can create our brand in the same way. And like one of the big learnings for me from this was that, so taking me as an example, I need to be the guide of the story and not the hero. And your customer is the hero. So you should never make it about yourself. So I shouldn't be here telling you all about me, even though that's what I did at the beginning. I shouldn't be telling you all about me. I should be completely talking about you, and I am your guide that takes you through the process, but you are the hero. So that's one of the big learnings from this book for me. And I think this was great in terms of your brand strategy. So I highly, highly recommend that one to you. Okay, the next one, oh my God, blew my mind. This one is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Oh my God, this book is amazing. It's amazing. I love this book. So he talks all about how you can do small little habits that affect massive change in your life. And it's all about the habits that we have. And he has this wonderful framework that he explains about how to build good habits. So he says about make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. He says these things and they're absolutely amazing. So this framework is, and the way he goes through it and explains it, it makes so much sense. And he explains how to set a good habit and also how to break a bad habit. But the big takeaway for me here, and this has been actually mind-blowing and a bit life-changing for me, was the idea of identity habits. And this is amazing. And the thing is, we can all get excited and enthusiastic about changing a habit, right? About, the beginning process. So let's say it's weight loss and we're going to eat healthy and we're going to not have any carbs after 5 o'clock, and we're only going to eat fruit and vegetables, and we have like all these little rules we put in place, and we get excited, but we can't carry through with it, and it doesn't follow through. And the reason for this is because we don't identify ourselves as a person who follows these habits. So this idea of an identity habit, this is amazing to me, is how you identify yourself. So if you can change your belief about how you identify yourself, then the behaviors that follow, they just follow and you don't even think about them. So for example, I'll give you an example of this because this is, I just think, an amazing concept. So I identify myself as an active person. And as a result, there is never a question for me about exercising. It is not a point of discussion. It is not, something I have to convince myself to do. It's something that I do. It's part of who I am. So I always exercise. Even through lockdown on Zoom, I'm with my weight trainer twice a week, Pilates twice a week. Over the last month, I'm back to tennis once a week. I do my daily walks every day. There is no discussion about exercising or not exercising, should I, shouldn't I, can't motivate because I identify myself as an active person. That is who I am. I didn't always identify myself this way, and I used to not exercise, but I had a shift maybe about 10 years ago, and this is who I am. So this idea of, and read the book to find out how you address this identity thing, but if you can get to the core of how you identify yourself, then everything else just comes. I can talk about this forever. I think it's amazing. I might do a blog about this separately because it's just fundamental to me. It's fundamental. Okay, the next one is my goddess, Marie Forleo. Oh my God, do I love Marie Forleo. She has a new book out called Everything is Figure Outable. And, if you are not tapped into Marie Forleo, then Google her and, find out about her. She does a weekly TV show. She has a podcast. She writes books. She speaks. She is motivational, inspirational, and so much fun. And I love that vibe. And the stuff she says is pure wisdom, absolute wisdom. So have I gone on enough about her? I think Marie Forleo is amazing, and I quote her a lot. And there are three big takeaways from this book that I really want to share that really stand out. You know, she goes through her whole framework and a whole bunch of points as well. But the first one is about dealing with the fear of anything. And it says about fear is not the enemy, and it's okay to feel fear, and it's about getting through to the other side of fear and facing that fear. And this is something that I have certainly discovered in my own life, and I talk to my clients about a lot. And you know, fear can be crippling, but the fear that we feel is about feeling fear as opposed to the fear itself. I can go on and on about this, but it's about facing fear, and it's absolutely amazing. The next one is about start before you're ready. I talk about this all the time. We as women tend to feel like we have to have everything done perfectly before we launch in. We have to research more. We have to study more. Listen, my friend, you know enough. You have studied enough. You have prepared enough. Go and do. Go and do. If you don't hear anything else, go and do. This is amazing. Start before you're ready, but just make a start. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. Which goes into the third one, which is progress, not perfection. Another mantra of mine. You see, she sings to me because I talk about these things all the time anyway. Progress, not perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect, all right? I may strive for perfection. I may strive to be the best version of myself. But as long as I'm making progress along the way, then I am succeeding, I am achieving, and I am making things happen. All right, so you don't have to worry about being perfect. You just have to worry about making progress and moving forward. So start before you're ready, and don't be scared of what's going to happen. Beautiful. I love you, Marie. So that brings me to the end of the business books, and I'm just going to touch on two fiction books. Now, one of these I have not read. I haven't read, and the reason I'm suggesting it is because it was the standout winner on 24 separate top lists of what to read for summer 2020. So I thought I would mention it, and I'm going to add it to my reading list, and I'm going to read it this summer, and it's called The Vanishing Half. This is what it looks like. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. And I'm going to tell you what it says. It's about two twin sisters who are identical, but one is raised as a woman of color and one is raised as a white woman. And, you know, it's a whole story about them from the 1950s to the 1990s. And it says, The Vanishing Half considers the lasting influence of the past as it shapes a person's decisions, desires, and expectations, and explores some of the multiple reasons and realms in which people sometimes feel pulled to live as something other than their origins. It sounds fantastic. Like I said, it's been on so many top lists. I haven't read it, so I can't tell you, but I'm going to give it a go, so I thought I'd bring that to your attention. And then the last book I'm going to talk about, this is where I am totally going to geek out on you. Are you ready? Now, you may or may not know this about me, but I am a major science fiction monster. Oh my God. I am such a sci-fi fantasy fan. You have no idea. I mean, I have seen probably every sci-fi movie. I've read every epic fantasy book written. I watched Star Trek the first time around. I've watched Voyager with my children and all the Star Wars. And, you know, I just love this stuff. I love this idea of the future and different cultures and people. And I love the idea of, that's the science bit. And I love the different realms of magic and different types of magic and sorcery and wizardry. Oh my God, I just love this stuff. What can I tell you? So like I said, this is where I'm geeking out on you. I read the Game of Thrones books about 7 years before they started making the HBO films. Okay, I am like well entrenched in this. So now I'll just say briefly, if you've never read these kind of books before and you think that they are just so out there, then you can start with something really light like David Eddings. He's written The Belgariad, and that is your standard, you know, farmer boy discovers he has amazing powers and it's a land of all these cultures and there's magic and wizardry and sorcery and elves and evil gods and all this kind of stuff. And it's a big long 5-book series and it's so much fun. And then there are other ones like Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, which is amazing, but it's 13 books and each one is like 1,000 pages. And it does drag on a bit in the middle, but it's much more sophisticated and there are lots of shades of gray and it gets really intricate and all these different stories and things happen and it's amazing. Actually, Robert Jordan died before he could finish it, and Brandon Sanderson took over, and he, took Robert Jordan's waffling and tied it up and made it amazing. And he himself has written a series of books called Mistborn, which are to die for. They are so good. That has such an interesting form of magic. And the one I'm going to talk to you about today is another one. This is written by Brent Weeks. And can you see this? It's probably backwards because I'm filming it, but it's called The Burning White. So this is book 5 in a series that I was reading called The Lightbringer, and it has a really, really interesting system of magic where you draft color. It's really hard to explain, but pretty much these special people who are drafters, they can see colors and a certain color resonates with them, and they can take that color and make magic with it. So they can, like blues build things and yellow, it's all these different things. So it's a really interesting series. It's a really interesting form of magic. And it's lots of shades of gray in this one. You root for the good guy who's actually a bad guy. And is the bad guy so bad? And how evil is evil? And maybe it's not so bad. And, it's just a deeper, richer series. And I really like this one. So it's called the Lightbringer series. And book 1 is called The Black Prism. It then goes on to The Blinding Knife, The Broken Eye, The Blood Mirror, and this one, The Burning White. So I am actually fessing up, going to reread the whole series so I can read the last book. And that is what I'm going to be doing next week when I go on holiday. And I'm very excited for that. But I hope you enjoy this wrap up of books. I hope you try some of them. If you like any of them, or if you have any thoughts or any suggestions, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and I will see you next week. Bye.